Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. Want to thank you so much for joining me this evening, this Saturday night, 7th of the 9th, 7th of September, for Talk and Sip Saturday night. And those joining me on Instagram, those on TikTok, those on YouTube, and those on Facebook, want to thank you for joining. And there's so many things which are happening. I always say there's so many things which are happening in the world, so many things happening everywhere, and sometimes you got to sort of sort of cut it down and sort of zero in onto one or two things, if anything, one or two things that you can look at. And tonight, my topic is: do the people win in an election? Yep. Do the people win in an election? And the focus, of course, is really on Jamaica. The focus is on recent developments in Jamaica, whereby you've got the government who is presently organizing one by-election in Northeast Centon, and there are big rumblings about the other seats which are in Trelawney, which has not been touched. But I'm looking at some other deeper things, really, and taking it on a high road, more from a national statesman perspective as to the winners. Who are the winners in an election? You know, who are the winners? Is it the people? Is it the MP? Is it the parties? You know, because like the opposition is not going to contest the election. Are they winning? The the present government will contest election. Are they winning? The people are not going to have alternative and good choices or alternative choices. Are they winning? You know, so that's the thing that we don't talk about. But anyway, tonight I'm not going to really be getting into any sort of alcohol or drink or anything like that. Just really going to have water, and if you are drinking anything, tell me what are you drinking. I'm just drinking. I was gonna say I'm drinking Red Bull, but no, not of that thing. Just drinking some water. You can tell me what you're drinking tonight. I'm hoping to have But anyway, let's start the show. Let's start the show, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get cracking. Let's get cracking and let's move forward fast. Hi, good evening, good evening, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, all over the world. My name is Silver Sidiel, and here is a Talk and Sip special show every Saturday night. I think last Saturday night I was on Southend on the Sea with the family, so show had to be postponed. And I think sometime in November, a good friend of mine having a special birthday, that should be postponed. See, let's try not to get everything sort of, you know, control you to a certain extent. You've got to control things. You know, today I was in the park and I was walking in the park, and it was very peaceful, very quiet, and very so high nature. And it just reminded me so much that we have to, as much as we are indulge with society and with what is happening around us, we got to get that time for ourselves. And I said, because we need the proper energy. And I paraphrase that properly by saying godly energy. I didn't say universe. I say godly energy, because godly energy is crucial. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's not mix it up or anything like that, you know. So so that's the thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like and share. Tonight, also, I'm going to be opening up for anyone who wants to give a call, um, to call in. Yes, you can, and the telephone number is there. Scrolling across the bottom of the screen, you can call in, um, just to give an opportunity for person to speak. When it comes on to issues of an election, and the key question which I have was, and in an election, do the people win? In an election, do the people win? And the question of whether the people win in an election depends on various factors. In an ideal democracy, elections are meant to represent the will of the people, with the elected officials serving their interests. However, the extent to which this happens can vary based on one, representation. If voters feel that their choices reflect their values and needs, they may feel like winners. But if the system is set up in a way that limits choices, such as gerrymandering or the influence of big money, the people may feel disenfranchised. Transparency. Trust in the election process is essential. If the process is fair and transparent, people tend to have faith in the outcome. Participation, higher voter turnout, may indicate that the people are engaged and actively participating in the democratic process. Low turnout may suggest that many people feel disengaged or powerless. Outcomes. Sometimes, even if the system works as intended, the results may not feel like a win for everyone, especially in polarized environments. Ultimately, whether the people win in an election often comes down to whether they feel empowered, heard, and represented. What's your take on that? Do you feel like whenever there's an election, and this could be for anywhere in the world, it could be in the USA, could be in the UK, could be in Jamaica, do you believe that when there is an election and the outcome, do you feel like you won, or you believe maybe you won because your party won? But do you believe that the people win? Because for argument's sake, when we talk about Jamaica and we talk about the 2020 elections, there was 1.9 million people. And of the 1.9 million people, 37% turned out to vote and that means to say over 700,000 people actually voted out of 1.9 million people on the electoral list. And then there were 3 million people. And in the local government election, it was 29% that turnout, which was less. Are the people winning? That's a big question. Are the people winning? And how can the people win? Let me just send something here to someone. And of course, with what is happening in Jamaica, and I use that focus on Jamaica today, because with the resignation of Mr. Nigel Clark, definitely there's going to be an election in his constituency for there to be someone to take over his seat, deemed to be a safe seat. In the constituency of Trelawney, somewhere in Trelawney, there is supposed to be, I believe, a vacant seat by the former Speaker of the House. But what I'm not too sure of is she saying she's going to step down, or has she resigned? So therefore, there's a seat there that's safe maybe for a year. But then the big thing is this. A lady which is called Marcia Smith. Marcia Smith, she was the Member of Parliament for the area in Sentan, Northeast Sentan. Northeast Sentan, she was the Member of Parliament. And see if I can actually find her picture here. Yep, there she actually know her father very well, know her sisters very well, actually. When I was going to York Castle High School, she was the younger one. And she was a Member of Parliament. She resigned. And then a day after, an election was called for September the 30th, and September 11th will be nomination day. So therefore, so that's what is happening there. This is the real problem in democratic countries. Not enough people to vote. Cat Bellinger. That's a good question. Not enough people to vote. Is it not enough people to vote, or that the people just don't want to vote? Because there are people to vote. There are people there. There are people there who can vote. There are people there in the system, but they're not interested in voting. And therefore, you've got a minority that always come out to vote, stalwarts, party stalwarts. I think in the States, maybe it's a bit different. There's a high turnout of people that come out to vote based on the electoral system. But like in the Caribbean and even the UK, recent elections in the UK, what we saw was the Labour Party won because there was a split in a way with the Conservative based on reform and everything like that. So the dynamism of the whole thing is need to be revamped, because what we're seeing is that the winners, it seemed to be, are the political parties. Winner is, in this particular case, is the JLP. The winner is the PNP. The question that I want to ask as well is, where are somewhat the independents, those persons who are there? And then why is the PNP not winning, not wanting to run an election? Why? Because the people, I would say, need choices. It's like, okay, I'll give you an example. The nature of my work. Nature of my work is that whenever you go to court and you present a case to conclude a care proceedings or so, one of the things that the judge would always want to have are the options. You want the options before. Is it a case which is of an adoptable nature? Explore that. Are they extended family members? Explore that. Is it foster care? Explore that. Are the family, which is the mother and the father, still viable? Explore that. So you have all these different options. So the court need to have all these things before them. If the parents are not viable or whatever like that, then somehow during the course of the proceedings and the tenure, 26 weeks or so, then you have these various assessments which are done. And these various assessments which are done will draw a conclusion that A, they're viable, or B, they're not viable, mother or father. So therefore, you move on to alternative family members. You go to family members and you realize, okay, there's someone who's viable. Then you go for a special guardian assessment. And then therefore, what happened? You have an option there. Now, if that is not there and it wasn't viable and the full assessment wasn't viable as well, then, and if the child is of an adoptable age, then you're talking about possible adoption. If the child is not of an adoptable age, then you're looking at long-term foster care. So the court wants to see everything. And I believe that because what you want is the winner. You want the child to win. You want the child to win in a way, and in the child, and the timing of the child and all those sort of things. So the child can have a good start out for life. Now, in an election process, I believe at the same time that the people should have clear options before them. And it shouldn't be a game. It shouldn't be a game whereby the government, because they want a particular person, so they're sort of engineering it around. And it also, if they're legally, and it's legal what they're doing, call election, then it is only right that other groups, other parties fall in line and also give the people the option. Because if you just have one person there, then it's really disenfranchised a constituency. And I call that total disrespect. Total disrespect. Like, share, and comment, force the algorithm. We need this conversation. We need to get involved to make a change. Bless. Yes, Kat, definitely. I believe that this conversation sometimes is sort of distracted by so many distractions around, you know. And I'm going to bring I'm going to go all over to Sri Lanka. I'm going to go into Sri Lanka, and I'm going to bring in Mr. Jiran Muirhead. I'm from Sri Lanka. How are you, Mr. Muirhead?
Good, good, good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Funnily, I've got Miss Marsha in the background there. Let me just take her off there. I'm glad that you came on, Sir Muirhead. Always Sri Lanka. Is it late there or early there?
It's late. It's late. You know that it's always late, yeah? When it comes to this UK time and Sri Lankan time.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyhow,
Mr.
like you asked me to just
Yeah, well,
join
Mr.
that,
Muirhead,
and
ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Muirhead is an international human rights activist all the way in Sri Lanka, and I wanted to because I want to look at this from an international perspective as to who are the winners in an election, point blank. Who are the winners? Is it the parties that goes in and they win, and the activists within that party structure they win? But what I'm seeing somehow is like the people, the general people, are not winning, but a minority winning. I just wanted to give you a perspective as to what I'm saying, and I realize that you have done some research in Jamaica as well as to the recent by-elections.
yes, yeah. Tell me.
Huh?
So you, yeah, yeah. What's the question? I got it.
Yeah, no. The,
You're
the
asking
question
the
I'm asking,
part.
the question I'm asking is, who win in an election? Are the people winning, or is it the party for the government that win and the opposition win because they all set themselves up to win, but in a way where the interest of the majority of the people, are the people winning? That's the question.
That's the $64 billion question, because uh, the politicians always tell they want to win the country, but if you looking at everywhere in the world, uh, actually the politicians who want to win themselves, not to win the people, but they always tell they want to win the people. That means win the people means they want the people to win, but
Mm,
actually that's not practically happen. If it is like people to win means, like you can see, if any party comes to power, they can carry for even 20, 30 years, at least 2 to 3 decades. But
yes,
they don't do that. They don't deliver the promises that they already given in their manifesto. You understood that the manifestos are something like that. The it's something like you're making a cake. You understood that?
yes,
Like, in a cake, if the cake is just a cake, but if you wanted to attract the cake, you need to put more icing on it. That means you need to put icing on the cake, right? So to attract the cake. But say in a manifesto, to attract, that means it's a competition between two or more groups who wanted to get the power, right? But they can't just go on with like something like an empty cake. You understood, without icing, because
mm,
everyone wanted to attract the voters and to get their support to win the power, right? So basically, that icing is normally like I as a campaign strategist, I always tell, if a really political party wanted to put some icing on the cake, they had to put like at least 10 to 15 percentage, right? But what the political parties does is something like an auction room. You understood that one will promise something and the other will do more promise than the other part. Okay, so it's something like an auction. Like they keep putting icing more. So
yeah,
if you're looking at the cake, like 30% is the cake, but 70% icing. But once you come to power, then only people will realize that the politician has made put more icing instead of put the cake. You understood
yeah.
that? So they
I,
don't deliver because they promise to deliver, but they can't deliver it because these are not the practical thing. Like you try to go with the aspiration that is mean like with people also expecting more to do. That is the biggest problem in political world. Like I'd say what people wanted is They wanted impractical aspiration. You understood that? They wanted the politician to deliver in practical aspiration. Okay, but the politicians also go in line with the people, right? People's expectation, because they wanted to win the power. Once they win the power, it's ultimate losers is the public, because public are not getting what the politician deliver, right? So I would say politicians either way, I call that is politician. Politicians means it doesn't matter which party they represent. In the end of the day, they're politicians. You understood that?
Yes.
So they
Yes.
wins. They win. People lose because okay. Let me tell you one good example. Right now, if you take about uh, if you take about a budget proposal, right?
Yeah.
A government come forward and they propose their budget for the next 1 year, and they give lot of promises in the budget, right? But do we have something like a uh, 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 I would say like a uh, uh, once the year is end, when you go for the next budget, there
Mm,
should be a mechanism to find out whether they have delivered or what they have delivered that they have not delivered. Everything
mm.
will be forgotten and they start with another new budget. You understood that? The similar thing when it's come to political parties, when they come to power and they promise a lot of things, but they will never accept whatever they fail to do. They will try to put more icing in the next election. They try to hypnotize the mindset of the voters and they win election. That's how it's
Okay.
happening. It's a very
Let's
very unfortunate.
a classic example is like the United Kingdom, which we just had the elections recently, and the manifestos were out there. Labour made their promises, and the classic example was no, there's not going to be any tax rate, no tax increase or whatever like that. And we're seeing what is happening now, whereby with the pensioners, we're seeing that there's going to be some serious taxes, according to the Prime Minister. It's going to be very painful. And so people
Yeah,
are now a bit disenchanted because people feel like they were taken for a ride leading up to the
yeah,
election, because they were trusting the what Labour was saying, but now they feel like, what's the sense? So therefore, this is what creates people not wanting to trust politicians. So therefore, the people now are feeling like they are the losers, but then at the same time, the train drivers who got a massive increase, they don't feel like they're the losers. They feel like they're the winners. The pensioners on 13,000 per year, they're going to feel like the losers.
yeah, yeah. I agree on that. But if you looking at the last election in UK,
Yes,
uh, in a whole picture, now this is the problem. In a whole picture, it looks like a land. It is a landslide for Labour, right?
based on
But
the
if
seat.
you're looking at, yeah, based on the seat. But
Mm.
if you're looking at the internal part of the election process, right? What really happened with the political parties? I can tell uh, it is a split between it is a split inside the Tory party. Only brought the Labour to the top, right?
Mm.
But that also I can tell you now. If you look at the percentage, right? If you look at the percentage now, if you go each constituencies, right? Each
Yes.
by each constituencies, you go there and I have done some sort of my homework. I didn't do the whole thing. I went like I scam a bit and I understood that. Okay, uh, what really happened there is every Tory winning seat, right, being won by the Labour because there was a portion being breakaway from the Tories by the reform, right? If
Reform.
you look, if forget about yes, if you
Mm.
forget about this UKIP, like now it is be like it, now it's a reform, right? Okay, those days what we have seen that is the small margin goes to UKIP, right? And they always the Tory party vote stood standly. That means it was very strongly stood in the constituencies, and they were since 2010 they were riding high. But in 2024, it was very unfortunate. I think Rishi Sunak made the wrong calculation. and he
But
never understood that.
to call election, I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, calling the election, he made the wrong decision. Maybe like he might have to deal with Labour Party. That's what I can see. That suddenly he knows that he's going to lose, and he brought an election because you have some time, you have
Yeah.
some time to apply certain strategies to how to turn the tide back again with the Tories, right? So at least like he could have been start do the dialogue with reform. You know that the reform is breaking the chunk from the Tory party base, so Tory voter base. So you would have done the part. You understood that he didn't do that part also. But at the end, if you're looking at the election results, right, with the seats lost by the Tory now, especially like the seat, there are certain seats like you can say it's a Tory, conservative hold seat for a long time. It's like I would say like the conspiracy always with the conservative. There are certain seats like it's always with Labour. It's not easy to break that one, okay. But
Mm.
if you looking at the other seat, okay, that clearly states that the Tory lost the seat because of reform took the certain voter base to their side. So the reform didn't win. Actually, it was at the end the Tories are the loser. You understood
Yeah.
that? So,
Yeah.
so it was very clear to tell you that there is no clear victory for Labour Party. As a whole, like you can say that they got like a massive number of parliamentary seats, but
Yes.
you have to looking into this particular issue. It's very clearly stating that
Mm.
uh, it's not the people who made the Labour to win. It is the Tory party's internal rift
Yeah.
only created the Labour to win. That's all.
It's thanks for that, and to link that now, and if we go over into Jamaica now for argument's sake, and there's a pending election which is due coming up. September 11th is nomination day. September the 30th is the election day, and that was as a result of the resignation of Marsha Clark. Sorry, Marsha. My apologies, Marsha Smith, which
Okay.
is this lady here. She resigned
Yeah.
from her seat for a member of parliament. Um,
Yeah.
you see, they were saying that she wasn't very effective. That's one of the things they were saying, she wasn't very effective. And
Okay.
apparently, activists were coming out to say that she need to go because she wasn't being very effective. I think that was within the first year. But then
Yeah.
during the course of that time, while she was still being the member of parliament, there was this gentleman which
Yeah.
is called Samuda. And Matthew Samuda was actually, according to what I'm understanding, because I'm overseas, was parachuting to the constituency. And therefore, he was being
Yeah.
somewhat like the de facto MP while
Okay.
she was actually the MP. So my thinking
Yeah.
was, hang on a second. She's the legitimate, legal, constitutionally elected member of parliament, and she was
Yeah.
sidelined, and this gentleman was playing the role. Well, many people are saying, well, she wasn't performing. But my view is that,
Yeah.
well, if she wasn't performing, then the machinery should try to come and help her to perform. And if the machinery wasn't there to
Yes.
help her to perform and it wasn't happening, then she should have stepped down or recall, or there should have been a recall. Now, the recall is not in the constitution as yet in Jamaica, and that is something that we're pushing to get that in the constitution so she can be recalled, so someone can recall on that level. So I look at it and say, this is like a clear disrespect to that lady, but more a clear disrespect to the people of that constituency. It is
Yeah.
a clear disrespect to the people of a country. And I'm saying, and I'm looking at it from one perspective and saying, it is not the people who are winning right there. It is the party who is trying to engineer their winning from a party perspective, not the people. Would that happen in Sri Lanka in a sense like that? Would that be
No, no,
very effective
that's
for you?
punch and Judy politics. Like it's like taking revenge, and like bossy politics is part and parcel of the Asian politics. So
Yeah.
it happens. It happens, like, but when it comes to the European politics, especially like in England and all, it very rarely happens. And also, it happens means the people will give them a what do you call, a good lesson uh, in a by-election, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but I what I saw from this. Uh, I understood this Jamaican politics is all about two-way party. It's
Mm.
very, very, I don't know why it's carrying for so long, like the Jamaican Labour Party and the People's Power Party, right? Am I correct? Okay.
Labor
So
Party
these
and
are
what?
the two parties:
Yeah, Labor Party. Yeah,
Jamaican Labour Party
the
and
two
the
official
People's
party.
Power Party.
Yeah, the People's
Yes,
National Party. Yeah, Labor Party and the People's
People's
National Party.
National Party. Yes.
Yeah.
So these are the two parties, in the fray always. But if you see that, if you see now, this is what you have to look into this by-election. Okay, what I
Yeah. Mm.
saw from this calling a by-election. Now, I would think it is the testing process by the current prime minister who is in power.
Yes.
Okay, if you're looking at his Andrew Holiness, right? Am I
Andrew
correct?
Holness.
And
Yeah.
Holiness,
Yeah.
yeah, and the Peter, I think Peter Golding or someone who is the opposition leader, Golding,
Mark Golan is the
Mark Golding,
opposition. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. So now, if you're looking at these two candidates, like in two leaders, now in 2011, I've just gone through this in 2011, the incumbent was there. I think Smith. She was the incumbent. Okay. At the time, this Andrew Holiness was leading the party at the election, right?
Mm.
So the people have given the, what do you call, people have given the, uh, what do you call that, I would say, uh, uh, what can I say, that people have given the uh, benefit of the doubt with the incumbent instead of giving the new man who has been taken the party and leading in 2011. But later what happened? He showed himself as a leader, okay, for the Jamaican Labour Party, and he was successfully riding until today. Now, if you say this 2016 or 2020, he rides well. That means if you're looking at his success, right? In 2016, he gained, say, about 11 seats, but against 2020, he gained more than 11. Again, another 17 seats he gained.
Is that correct?
So
Is that correct, Uche?
you
Yeah. Mm. I'm speaking
yeah,
to. I'm inviting Mr. Vice President of a diplomatic party there. Is that correct? What Mr. Murad is saying?
I'm sorry. Repeat that question, Mr. Cilio.
No, no. He was going through some dates. You're going through some dates a while ago, Muirhead.
yes,
Skalko, you seem to be even more versed with some dates than even myself, even though you're all the way in Sri Lanka. You're saying something of that nature that 2016 was an election. Is that correct in Jamaica? 2016, and then 2020 was the next last general election. That's what you're saying, Muirhead. Yes.
yes. Now, if
Yeah.
you see that, that the time he was becoming the leader of the Jamaican Labour Party, he was fighting against an incumbent leader. You understood that, from the People's
Portia Simpson.
National
Yeah.
Party. Am I correct?
Portia
Right.
Simpson. Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
what? Yes, but what I saw that is, if you see his performance was increasing until 2020. It was increasing because normally when you win and become a prime minister, when you go to the next election, the slightly, even though you win an election, slightly your performance will go down, right? But
Mm,
his performance was going up, is growing, right?
mm,
Now he's riding high. Now,
yeah.
what I saw from this by-election, it's a very simple mechanism they are using, either side. Okay, the Jamaican Labour Party wanted to test the what do you call, the ground level. Okay, although it's a very safe seat, right? Like
In
very
Central
safe
there.
seat means like, yeah, yeah, it's like 9,000, 4,000, like 9,000 for Labour and 4,000 for People's National Party, right? Am I correct? Okay. So, what I saw that is it's a very safe seat. I don't know whether he's testing or he's disrespecting that particular MP, but other way around, the People's National Party is not going to contest in this election. I think
What do
you
you think
might
about
know
that?
about that.
What do you think about that? What's your take on that, Muirhead? That the People's National Party is
Yeah,
not going to contest it?
yeah, they are not going to participate because it's very clearly that only the two main rivals are contesting each other. So obviously, 2025, the Jamaica is going for the next parliament election, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
he don't wanted to, because I'm sure that this seat is going to be held again by the Jamaican Labour Party. There is no doubt on that, right?
mm,
But what if he really knows that there is a fight, there could be a fight, at this moment with that constituency, he will put a candidate. But there is no fight means he thought it's better to keep away from the candidate to make sure that 2025 is a better time for them to get into the field, rather than that giving a signal to the public like, still the Labour Party is holding high, as not only has a consistency for that particular constituency,
yeah.
also as a country. You understood
That,
that? So they don't wanted to.
they don't.
They don't
Yeah,
want to give the signal to the public.
yeah. Okay. I like what you're saying right there, and I see the analysis. Let me go to Mr. Hutchinson. So what's your take on the by-election, which is due September the 30th, and the PNP not contesting it? And are you going to contest it? Because you're from the vice president of the Diplomatic Democratic Party. Should there be some independence? Yeah. Go ahead, Uche.
I mean, it would be, and once more, thank you for having me, Mr. CDL, and thank you to your panelists and
Yes.
to you nonetheless. Personally, it would be good to have independent representative, because I mean, it is clear to us that um, a vast majority of the voting population in the country is not interested in the two major political party, and with that, it's an indication of a failure or a breakdown in our democracy, because we have now um, the state where the majority of the population of the country is governed by um, a few, or a group of persons who were selected by the few, right? So we have a democratic issue in our politics. So it would be good to have independent voices to represent what the masses of the people has been lacking from these two major political parties. So it would be good, but based on my knowledge, our movement is not really going to, based on what I know so far, things can change. Well, based on what I know so far, our group is not um, planning to,
Equipped. Equipped.
yeah, not planning to contest in that election. Um, to answer another question regarding the PNP deciding not to contest, um, I think, well, again, the PNP is the opposing party, so they are not enthused to use their ammunition in this election. But I'm seeing that they're probably gearing up for the general election. So maybe they're trying to strategically maneuver themselves in the general election, right? However, the downside to that is the people need representation. So you cannot be in representational politics and you're saying that, hey, you're not going to contest because of whatever the issue is, whatever the political strategy the Andrew Holness is deploying, you're not going to contest, right? That too is a disrespect to the people, right? Because the people, some persons may want an alternative um, opportunity to exercise their democratic right, in
to someone
which
else. Yeah.
you have robbed them of that by
Okay.
not.
Yeah. Mira, that point there that Uche mentioned there, that while the political parties and they're thinking maybe not to contest this election because of the fact that there's a next election which is coming up very soon, and they want to put their ammunition there. But then at the same time, you got people who are saying, hang on a second, we would like to actually exercise our franchise by voting someone else. They don't want to vote for this particular person. They want to go for someone else. Shouldn't they be able to exercise that? You know, is there a dupe? Isn't it diligent upon an opposition party to really put someone there, even though it's not
Yeah,
constitutional?
I
But
think
yeah,
Yeah, I think what the other gentleman said about they don't want to use the ammunition. Like I say, like it's not about contesting election, and with this almost like about maybe like about 14, 15,000. I think I feel like that the size of the constituency. And nowadays the technology is playing a bigger role of doing an election campaign. Okay, so it can be able to reach to the people because people are more now with the fingertips, their day-to-day lives. But what
yeah,
I can tell you is this: now, as you said, is you might be correct, but what I'm saying is uh, when you are when you test the water and you feel that there is a favoration for you, then you come into the field. You understood that. The reason is what I'm telling you is like say for example, there's a possibility of giving a good fight in the constituency. Means definitely the Andrew Golding of the People National Party will
Mark Golin,
field a candidate.
Mark Golin. Yeah,
Mark Golding. Okay,
yeah,
he will put his candidate to that particular constituency because to show the people that we are riding high, we are coming back. Because that should be a
yeah,
signal to the public because there is an election in other maybe another very soon, like a certain months later, like 2025, there will be an election, right? But at the same time, he don't want to. Now he already tests the pulse of the people of that particular constituency. He understood that it's not about the wasting of time. It's all about there is no clear message can be given to that constituency to the public of the Jamaican people. That means the entire country of Jamaica, right? So yeah, and that also will disadvantage the position because it will going to tell that is the current incumbent prime minister is doing well with the country. You understood that because there is a huge you if you're looking at that 14 to 49, that means 49 seats being comes under the ruling party and the 14 on the opposition. So if you're looking at the Jamaican political history for the last 2 decades, it's there is no way you can see someone can overturn with a huge tie. You understood that. Now
mm,
49-14 means, right? So the party needs at least 18 to 19 seats to get the power, right? So it's not that easy to turn. So they are playing a very simple mind game to make sure that we will come with a surprise rather than that we don't want to give any signals about what is our status now. You understood?
yeah,
That means like 2020 we were like this. 2025 we are going coming with something like we want to deliver, right? That is one part. The other part I can tell you is that when it's come to a by-election, the by-election is mostly it's not the election for the political party. The
mm,
by-elections is like mostly it is the figure, it is the person who can be able to accumulate the opportunity, right? The reason is people don't go and vote the by-election. Now, for example, like in a normal election, if the people like say they vote, 70 percentage of the population going and voting, but in a by-election it may go below 50%. So it's a very the competition is like very less in that. So that is the time. Now this what I can tell you is that I saw that Jamaica is a two-way fight. No, it's very, very strange to see that. Like, still there is no third force coming into the field. So Jamaica needs a third force. If people are complaining and people are telling that they are not happy with what's happening because the two rivals means they have no options. So the third one can be able to come through a by-election. If they're going to spend lots of time in their campaign with lots of ammunitions, and there is a possibility they can turn the tide. If they turn the tide, means that
Yeah.
is the birth of the third force into the Jamaican politics. So this
I
is a
see.
good opportunity for them.
I see something else though. I see something else whereby a by-election, while it may sound or send a signal to the system or whatever, the country or whatever, or the parties to say momentum is there for the JLP, less momentum is there for the PNP because of the fact that they lose. It could be a situation with the Marshall Smith um, debacle. There could be a division at the same time within that constituency, whereby now is the opportune time for the PNP to go in there and actually secure it or try to actually gain some momentum. And therefore, when it comes on to the general election, whether they win or not, they could be building. But but if the by-election is called and people are saying, yes, we can now get rid of Marshall, we can get rid of Samuda, but there's nobody for the jail for the PNP is there now. Nobody they can vote for. So people are going to look at it and say, well, I can't bother with these guys, man. Let me just stick with the JLP and done. So therefore, it could send a death signal to the PNP because I hear many people saying this. Well, the figures and they check it out and they realize that it doesn't make sense to really go for that because they're going to lose. So are you going to try to say to me now in a general election, they're going to say, oh, that area is a losing area. So let us not actually put any emphasis there. At the same time, I believe that every opportunity for for an election, I believe that the parties, independents, everyone should run at it to say that they want to give the people an opportunity to exercise their franchise properly and not just to be labeled to one side. I believe that the PNP made a mistake, but of course, people might disagree with me. You know what I mean? But I believe that Uche, these guys should have actually get somebody down there, you know, in there to sort of help out the people there because the people need a voice. The people need a voice, and this is what I'm talking about, Mujay. I'm talking about the people need to win. The people are not winning. It is the parties who are winning based on their selfish. He popped. We're gonna come back. Yes, Uche. I believe that the parties are the one who are winning based on their selfish mental attitude.
Accurately so. Accurately so. Accurately so.
You know. So somebody said a while ago, but at least Margot is not a part of the globalist WEF. Are they talking the World Economic Forum? What does it mean by WEF?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Let, yeah. That's this sort of thing that I'm thinking of. That the the various independents need to. As a matter of fact, I need to even ask UIC as well, Mr. Joseph Patterson, as to what is their take in the matter. Mr. Patterson, how are you, sir? Good afternoon.
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you
Good.
for coming on. And
My pleasure.
Mr. Hutchinson is here.
Good
Um,
afternoon, Mr.
my,
Hutchinson.
I did have Joseph, um, Mr. Muir Jean. He's an international human rights activist. He's in Sri Lanka,
Hmm.
giving a perspective. I think he has some issues there with the Wi-Fi there.
Okay, no
Yeah,
problem.
Joseph, thank you for coming on. This by-election, which is being held in Northeast Centre, And why I'm very interested in that area is because I'm from Ocherius, and it's a Och.
Ah,
It
okay,
covers
okay.
it covers the Ochi zone, and I believe that the, the parties are actually playing games with people. What's your take on it, Mr. Patterson, on
Well,
this?
I hope you're not surprised that the parties are playing games, because that has been the case for the last 8 years.
Mm,
So the game is not the problem. The problem is what we are going to do about the games. I mean, obviously, the prime minister um, is currently using the powers given to him by the existing constitution to manipulate the Jamaican people and to manipulate parliament and to get whatever he wants out of it.
yes.
The challenge we have is that we now, as the people, have to get very serious about fixing that and ensuring that the Jamaican people are no longer taken advantage of. If you look at what the prime minister is doing, we have a South Trelawney seat which has been sitting vacant for just about a year now that he has not filled by a by election, and we have a 1 day vacancy, and then the prime minister is calling for a by election.
Yes.
That's serious. A by election is going to cost us anywhere between 25 and 30 million dollars to conduct.
Is it
Um,
is it per seat of an election or so?
no, per
I
seat,
keep
per
per
seat. I
seat.
mean, so about 25, 30 million to put this on when we have a national election which is due by September next year. And customarily in Jamaica, elections are called, 6 months to a year prior to the constitutional required date. So the prime
Yes.
minister is obviously wasting taxpayers' money and wasting taxpayers' time. With this, we have a situation where the our school children, 82% of them failed to achieve math and English and three other subjects. Now, that's very serious. So, we need money to be spent where it's important. We have teachers leaving the island in fast succession. We have nurses leaving in fast succession. In fact, just
Your minister of
recently,
finance. Your minister of finance also leaving the island.
well, that is a good thing. That's a good thing. I think it's very good that the Minister of Finance is leaving because he has been working for the IMF all this time. So I'm very happy that he has made public what he has been doing privately. Now, what we
Mm.
need is for the Prime Minister and the opposition leader to also leave, and for all 63 of them to resign, because they have presided over a very, very poor government for the last 8 years.
Mm.
But let's put this in context here. The prime minister is clearly dissing the Jamaican people. Clearly, you have a resignation 1 day and you have an announcement of a by-election the next day, while you have other by-elections which should have been had by now and they have not been done. The prime minister promised us a fixed election date. What he should
Yes.
also promise us is a fixed by-election date, meaning when you have a resignation or a death of somebody who is
Yeah.
otherwise unable to perform, you should have a specific period, let's say 90 days or whatever it is, but
Yeah.
something reasonable, and say within 90 days you'll have an election. So you take that out of the hands of the prime minister and you put that in the hands of statute, and we follow the statute. But here's the problem: even if you have the statute, history has shown us that these two parties are prepared to break those statutes
Mm.
when it pleases them, and they have done that before. And the prime minister promised us somewhat 8 years ago that if we elected him, he would give us fixed election dates. And it's now 8 years later, and we have not had a fixed election date legislation passed in the House. So my opinion is they will continue to play with us, and it's time for us to stop playing with them. We now need to act as a people.
Now, one of the key questions which I mentioned there, and it is, we said it earlier, and I think you answered it as well, that the people are losing, right?
Yes.
Those who are winning is the parties, in a sense. They're making sure that they win. JLP is making sure that they win in that way. The PNP is making sure that they win by not having anybody being in that area trying to secure things or whatever like that. Joseph, I keep saying this, that the people are losing, because at the last election, as you and I know, we all know with Uche, is that 37% turned out to vote at the general election on the electoral list. At the local government election, 29% turnout. So therefore, the it's a minority the people who actually put these guys into power. You
Yeah,
understand?
and take it further, the Prime Minister's party only got 21% of the electorate.
Mm,
So the governing party right now is governing on a 21% support. And the opposition leader or opposition party is even worse. They're
mm,
governing on 16%. But worse than all of this, remember, they
yeah,
bought their votes. So it's not, they
mm,
got they got only 21 and 16% each from the total electorate, but they also bought those votes. Those people would not have come out and voted if they were not induced to vote by virtue of spending 16 to 17 million dollars per constituency by the party. And this funding came from the PSOJ oligarchs. So
mm,
Jamaica is really is legitimizing an oligarchy. So the PSOJ oligarchs own both of these two parties, fund both of these two parties. The money from the PSOJ oligarchs are then used to buy votes at the local level. So they are controlling the two parties and by extension controlling Jamaica's government and Jamaica's economy. So we're not electing JLP or PNP. Every single election cycle, we are re-establishing the PSOJ oligarchs. So the only way we can get around this is if we, the people, decide it's time to own our own party. And so we now own the party, raise the funds from ourselves, and make sure that we overcome the vote buying of these two parties, reach the 70% or 67% of Jamaicans who want a change but don't know about the change because they're blocked. The UIC is blocked from the media generally. So the people don't know. But if we can get through to the people and get them to understand what has been done to them since 1944 until now, and
mm,
get them to rise up, then you can pretty much overcome the 30% or so diehards who will be paid to vote. At least 60% of them are paid to vote. They get $5,000, $10,000 to vote. So the people who are voting are not voting their consciences, nor are they voting intelligently. Bear in
mm,
mind, every year we're failing 70 to 80% of our high school graduates. So we don't have people who are really thinking and reasoning at the level that we need them to reason. And
mm.
because of that, you're getting a situation where these two parties are able to control and manipulate the people of Jamaica and hold our government by virtue of the PSOJ oligarchs that funds them.
I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to bring in Uj. Uj, you heard Mr. Patterson right there and some sound wording. What's your take on that about, you know, owning the party? You're with the vice president of a diplomatic democratic party. Do you see any inroad into the PSOJ? How would you believe that you can get funding, in a sense, to mobilize yourselves?
Well, and Mr. Patterson has proposed good arguments, right? Very good argument, as he usually do. We will have to, and I'm glad that we are on this topic. If we don't fund, if we don't get active in anything that we are doing, then we run the risk of that, whatever that is, we run the risk of a failure, right? So if we want to see change in this country at many levels, politically, socially, economically, the people will have to rally around this. We cannot, as Mr. Patterson says, the oligarchs
Yeah,
are
we're losing you. We're losing. Are you there? Okay, we're losing you there, Uche. Sorry, Uche.
you hearing me now?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was saying the but we'll have to employ the strategy that Marcus Garvey taught us, right? Self-reliance, self-dependency. We the people will have to unite first around the issues that affects us, and we will have to create the plan of action, the strategy, right? And a big part of that is funding. You understand? We have to fund what we are doing because we are going up against an established political system, right? 80 years of political system is not something that you can just overthrow overnight, right? So we're going up against an established political system, right? And but at the end of the day, unity is always strength. It can be fixed. I would make reference to the Burkina Faso president, Ibrahim Traore. Burkina Faso has been under the oppression of of the French, right, for many decades. And just in 2 years of this military leader, Burkina Faso is on a path to economic progress. You understand? So it doesn't matter how long Jamaica is in this issue, it can be easily fixed, but it has to be a holistic approach. The Jamaican people will have to spearhead this. You understand? The leader, we get the leadership that we allow. It's simple as that, we get the leadership that we allow. And any minute we stop allowing these politicians to do as they please and not hold them accountable, not condemn them, not call them out, we're gonna have the same every day until we transition. So we the people, now is the time. Now is the time. The numbers is there, right? A vast majority of us is not in favor of none of the two major political parties, and we want nothing. I know I don't want nothing to do with them. I've been approached many times. Why don't you join the JLP? Why don't you? Even last week, a PNP council reached out to me and say, "Oh Jay, the passion and the things that you're doing in your area, right? And the fire we have. Join me, man. I'm going to give you a nice division for run and area." And I said, "No, I will do what I can do for my area as a normal citizen. I will not be tainted. I will not be corrupted by the current corrupt political system. You understand? So I will spend my own money and get things done. You understand? Because at the end of that is where we need to be as a people. We need to start doing things outside of political borders."
Let me go to Mr. Patterson. Joseph. A disillusion with the system, that is, I believe, is a factor which leads to apathy, where people are not interested in voting, because if people believe that the system is rigged, corrupt, or inefficient, they may feel that their vote doesn't matter even if they participate, and that is what seems to be happening. How would you then, Joseph? You mentioned about the people. How do you think one can awake the people? Marcus Garvey awake the people. Marcus Garvey got the people to be awake. How do you think the people can be awake?
Well, we can learn from Marcus Garvey's situation a lot. I mean, Marcus Garvey was a leader at a time when most Black persons felt that they were being disenfranchised by the white minority that controlled the economy, that controlled the country. Now, Marcus Garvey was able to do a few things. One, he did crowdfunding, which is the same model that the UIC follows, to crowdfund. Two, he did a lot of writing. So he had a printing press and he communicated through the printing press. But most importantly, the people at the time were still of a revolutionary mindset. The people at that time, they felt the oppression of their colonizers, whether it is locally here in Jamaica or in the wider Caribbean or even in the US. They felt it and they wanted to come out. Today, it's very different. The people actually are of the mistaken belief that they're free. They actually have bought into the fake freedom that was sold to them in 1838, and they bought into the fake democracy sold to them in 1944, and they bought into the fake independence that was sold to them in 1962. So they're following, the people have bought the lie. And so what they now do, they see politics as a game, and they watch, both sides play the game, and they even laugh about it, especially the middle class. They laugh about it, they watch it, and who going out to who. They really don't understand what politics really mean and the impact it is having on them and everybody else. Now, the disillusion sets in because those who control the system figured out how to lock it down. It's only since the UIC came on the stage that we have been educating people to understand governance and to understand our political history and to understand how we've been manipulated and controlled. Of course, they quickly pull us off the television and radio and the newspaper, because if that gets through, the same thing that happened with Marcus Garvey will happen again. And then they also send infiltrators into our parties to bring it down, to bring us into disrepute, to claim that the leader is some thief or something, in order to just fragment us. And it has worked. So we have to be constantly rebuilding, constantly, fixing the issues, both the external attacks that come at us, the formal attacks, the formal thing of money. Who controls the money in the economy? The PSOJ. Who controls the media in the economy? The PSOJ. Who controls the two colonial parties that now has the emotional attention and the full media attention of the people? The PSOJ. So we have to break that down and help the Jamaican people to understand how they're being duped. And we're doing that. But we're doing it with the handicap of not having the kind of environment that Marcus had, which was a people recognizing that they're under stress and wanting to escape it and seeing a political way out. Remember, Marcus Garvey formed the first political party in Jamaica. The people didn't know how to organize, and Marcus Garvey organized them. And remember what happened, Selburn. As soon as Marcus Garvey organized the Jamaican people, what did they do? They sent infiltrators into his camp to diminish him. And they used the Gleaner, which was the major media at the time. The Gleaner put a lot of articles out about how bad he is and how much horrible things he has done. And they tried very hard to break him down to the point where he just left Jamaica. And he went to the US. Now in the US, he found fertile soil there and was doing very, very well. But then the same thing happened. The powers that be saw that he was a threat because he was bringing fresh ideas, fresh perspective, and a clear understanding of the state of the black man and how the black man can revolutionize his own thinking and industry and come out. And what did they do? Again, they sent infiltrators in, they diminished him, they even caused him to be charged for mail fraud and got him to be convicted and arrested and then deported back to Jamaica. Marcus Garvey died not so much of anything more than a broken heart, because the people of Jamaica and the people of the black people of the United States, they let him down. We cannot afford to do the same thing. We need to mean unity, not just use the word unity. We need to mean it. And when you unite, you don't unite because you like a person. You unite because you are for a purpose and a mission. A
and you got a cause.
And so you work on that cause.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining. And I'm with Mr. Joseph Patterson, the president of the UIC, United Independent Congress. Yes, UIC. And also Mr. Uche Hutchinson, for vice president of a diplomatic Democratic Party. And the topic is, do the people win in an election? And we are sort of breaking it down, sort of looking at it very deep. Thanks those on TikTok as well. You mentioned something a while ago, which is crucial and something which I see all a while of recent days, since I have this show on Marcus Garvey at his recent day. You mentioned about the common ground at that time. The common ground at that time was colonialism. You're talking about the impact of slavery at that time. People were suppressed, that they were depressed. Today, they're still in shackles.
But they don't see that. But they don't see it that way.
And stick a pin there. In recent days, I've been speaking to people as to why people don't turn out for demonstration at times. And Uche, they say that the people are struggling with living and cost of living. And I'm saying, hang on a second. During the Marcus Garvey era, they were worse in a sense of living but there was a common ground. So the thing now, I believe,
they weren't tribalized yet.
They weren't tribalized yet.
But there were one tribe. All of the poor people were all of the poor and all of the black. And all of we're being oppressed. Today, we're black and poor, but we're JLP. We're black and poor, but we're PNP, or we're black and poor and we're in a business. We're not now focused on the we have lost sight of who the enemy is today. Remember, the enemy in the 1930s to the average Jamaican was those Europeans or Americans controlling our economy and our country. We saw them as the colonizers. They were the enemy. By 1944, that changed. The enemy was the person wearing the green shirt or the person wearing the orange shirt. And now
Yes.
we have followed that for 80 years. So now we are now our enemies. And our goal is to kill we. And that's why we do
Yeah.
such a good job of tearing each other down. We're not able to unite because they have taught us how to be divided.
You know, Uche, Mr. Patterson, different groups which are there in Jamaica, um, you know, lots of different political aspirants. Where's the united factor there in a sense? In a country of 3 million or so, why are we not maybe united more at the same time with the different political sides?
Well, I mean, what I've observed, I've been back in Jamaica now for 13 years. I came back in 2011, spent the first 2 years studying the system carefully, and then subsequently launched the beginning of the UIC. And some of the hurdles I have seen in launching a political party in Jamaica is that a lot of the people who are competent and qualified stay away from politics. People who are able to reason from cause to effect, people who can plan, organize, and execute on a project, they stay away. Most of those people who will try to help out don't have the competences. They're not. They mean well. They want to do it, but they don't necessarily have the competences. And then now, when you pull them together, because of their lack of educational acumen, they will easily get into conflicts. Because, for example, when you have a board of directors, right? The board members have to understand board protocols. They have to understand how to review financial statements. They have to understand Robert's Rule of Orders and how you do things. How do you make an inquiry? How do you get answers to whatever? But when you have people who are not particularly bright, and they're now finding themselves in a very serious and significant position and don't know how to deal with it, first of all, it gets to their head. You make somebody a vice president, you make somebody a general secretary, you make somebody a treasurer, whatever it is, it gets to their head because it's the first time. Nobody else now give them that kind of position. They can never go to the two established political parties and get in a serious position. They're going to be way at the bottom. But when you form these new startups like the UIC and others, you have ordinary people who may not be highly competent, who find themselves in very significant position. They can't manage it. And then if you have a leader like myself now, who is very experienced, I've sat on boards across 120 different countries, managing $146 billion in asset under management. I am going to bring skills that are very, very different from what you're used to if you're not engaged in that level of corporate engagement during your career. Now, when you come and you're faced with somebody challenging you to follow certain standards, you quickly have backbiting and backstabbing, and persons know who sometimes they come in and they don't even understand it. They go form a party. They don't even understand governance. They don't even understand policy. They don't even understand history, but they're going to form a party because they need power. They need to be at the top. They can't work with somebody else because why are you at the top? Well, I'm only at the top because I'm elected by the members. When I started out, I'm at the top because I created. And then later on now, the members then decide, do I want to keep him as leader? And they vote. And you go from there. Now, we can't unite if everybody wants to start a political party. So what does Jamaica have right now? Jamaica has 4 registered political parties. 4.
That is NDM, UIC.
No. Let me tell you exactly what it is. Jamaica has 4 registered political parties. In 2017, the 2 colonial parties that have a grip on our government, they passed new laws given to them by their colonial masters, which strategically got rid of all political parties from Jamaica except themselves. So the new laws they passed in 2017 outlawed all political parties who did not follow the registration process that they now brought in. When they brought that in, both of them quickly became registered because it's for them rules. They know the rules. So now Jamaica only had 2 registered political parties, JLP and PNP. The UIC in 2018 set out on a 1-year-long process across the country of pulling together more than 1,300 persons and the money to become Jamaica's third registered political party. Now that's 2018. Almost all of 2019, the two major parties, with the help of the PSOJ and the help of the ECJ, fought to prevent the UIC from becoming a political party. We became a political party on the 2nd of December 2019. Shortly after that, it took us 10 months, of battling. But as soon as they called the 2020 election, they permitted a fourth party so that we could have confusion in the marketplace. That was the Jamaica Patriotic Party or something like that. I forgot their full thing. So they became now, if you notice, they're defunct. They're not functioning. They don't exist. They're there on paper only, but they're not a relevant political party. They came with some ridiculous ideas. It was a Christian church party with all pastors and whatever, and then they pretty much disappeared. So right now, today, Jamaica only has 3 functioning registered political party. That's the UIC and the other 2. After that, now a number of persons who came into the UIC and tried to break it down went off and organized all kind of group. And they're working with the NDM, which has been defunct for many years. The NDM has no structure, no existence. It's just a couple of people left there. It's irrelevant to Jamaica. The Jamaican people have long moved on from the MDM. The NDM was an offshoot of the JLP. It was not a true third party.
That's what Bruce Collins started, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he didn't start it, but they brought him in as the leader, because the goal of the NDM was simple: to get rid of Siaga. That was the only goal of the NDM. It wasn't about saving Jamaica. The NDM was a breakaway from the JLP, orchestrated by members of the PSOJ to use it and Bruce Collins to bring down Siaga because they wanted him to leave and he wouldn't leave the party. So they used that. As soon as Siaga left, stepped down and said, "Hey Bruce, I'm gonna give you the thing," then the NDM was disbanded. It's the loyalists, the faithfuls who were fooled by the trick, still stick around and try to see, but it has no meaning, it has no soul, it has no heart. So the NDM is done. Many years now, done. Then you have the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party, which is an absolute joke. It has been around from Marcus Garvey time until now, and it has had absolutely no impact on the Jamaican people since Marcus Garvey left Jamaica and went back to England and died. That party is not, because it has been taken over by, persons who have a different agenda than what Marcus Garvey had. It became too focused on certain things and not connecting with the Jamaican people on a bigger platform. And so that party has frittered away. You still have some persons there now, trying to say a few things, but it lacks leadership. It lacks competences. It will never.
Is that the one with Antoine Campbell?
Yes. And Antoine Campbell is a lovely young man, lovely potential, but he's no president of a political party. He's not ready to lead a political party. The Jamaican people would never vote for him to be their prime minister at this stage of his development. He has a lot of potential. He can grow. He can get somewhere in about 5-10 years. But right now, he's not ready to be prime minister. He's not ready to lead Jamaica. And that's a fact. OJ's party is not ready. Their leader lacks 80% of the competencies required to lead this country. It's a joke. So if we're going to get things done, let's get serious. Let's come together and let's look at our competencies and make sure we're presenting to the Jamaican people a real alternative of solid leaders that can make this country better, and stop undermining each other and undermining our country. It's serious things are going on, and you have these people busy. A fight Joseph Patterson, a fight against the UIC, as opposed to fighting the real enemy. But the colonial masters tricked us and taught us that we are our enemy, and we have made ourselves our enemy, and we continue to fight the wrong enemy.
Herbert, can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me, Herbert. Uche, what's your take on what Mr. Patterson said? Because we're talking about solutions and uniting around a common ground and a common denominator. And Mr. Patterson, we come back to you as you say, what is that common ground and that common denominator that we can all rally around? Uche, based on what Mr. Patterson is saying about the coming together.
Well, it's a good suggestion. It's a good suggestion of coming together. However, we have to identify first meticulously the things that have divided us. If we don't address the things that have divided us, whether it be personal, whether it be political, whether it be religious, whatever it may be, if we don't address the things that divide us as a people, then there's no unity, right? So it's good to say, right? But Mr. Patterson made mention that several movements started from persons stepping away from the UIC, right? I am not really privileged to any details as to what really transpired that led to that, right? But based on my experience with the person that I am working with, right? Um, you will never be a 100% leader, because again I will reference always I will reference a man like Ibrahim Traore. He was a military leader, right? A military leader. Who would have thought that a military leader would rise to becoming the political leader of a country, right? Who would have thought that, right? But it's not really about your competences. It is about your will to do what the people require, because leadership is something that you grow into. Nobody's born a leader, right? You will have certain aspects, certain characteristics. You're outspoken, you're bold, you're fearless. You understand? You are able to quickly understand. However, it's a growing process, right? But once you dedicate time to understanding the systems by which we exist and live in, you understand, and we demonstrate and we employ certain skills that we have, and the energy that we are willing to learn as we go, right? That's what that is very important, you understand. But again, I would love for all the parties, the third parties, all the movements that have created to go for the same goals. I would love for all of us to sit at the table, but again, we have to address the things that divides us.
What
While
divides us? What divides us? What divides us?
again, as Mr. Patty, I was making reference into what Mr. Patterson said regarding because the founder of the movement that I am from is a former member of the UIC. Understand? So I'm not sure as to what the details regarding this the division from the UIC. However, these things will have to be addressed. These things to me will have to be addressed before we are all able, right? And as Mr. Patterson says, the Marcus Garvey movement has morphed into something that is not really effective. You understand? But where is the table? Where is the table that we have set for all of us to sit down, right? As opposed to,
Yeah.
as opposed to, as opposed to, trying to push a particular, agenda. Where is the table that we have set for all to sit and
Okay.
have a discussion?
Yeah.
That is
Okay.
not there.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go back to Mr. Patterson on this particular point about, because we can work on the differences, but I want to zero in on, Mr. Patterson. We have had these discussions. We met in London and we have had these discussions few times, and we have got to notch it up to the next level now, because when you see like the election which is taking place in Northeast Centre, you can feel in a sense that even in Trelawney as well, you can sense that the people somehow are feeling totally disenfranchised, because they don't have they don't have options, they don't have alternatives. They're
Right.
just like being something has been imposed upon them, and them just like, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to say it like that, being disrespected and like sitting ducks and say, take this, go on with this, you know.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what I'm saying now is, what is the common ground that we need to build? I'm in the UK in the diaspora, and I'm so serious now about trying to get the people of Jamaica to be the winners, man. It's sort of getting fed up now with all this chatting, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And the common ground to me,
Yeah,
Selvern, is very simple. Very, very
yeah,
simple. what has Jamaica lacked since these two parties have taken over? Since they got rid of Marcus Garvey and took over our government from 1944 to now, over 80 years,
Yeah.
what has been lacking? One simple thing: good governance. That's
Mm,
all. For example, we don't have our own constitution. We still have a colonial constitution.
mm,
We don't have an economic model that is bottom up. We have a top down, trickle down economic model that makes even the IMF very happy, but leaves the Jamaican people very poor. We have a situation where the government has failed on every single metric. They cannot
yeah.
manage schools. 82% of our students are failing. They cannot manage hospital. Newborn babies are now being laid down on plastic chairs beside a wall to keep them from dropping off. Newborn babies. They cannot manage highways. All of our highways are owned by foreign companies who collect a toll from us, and that money flows out of Jamaica. They
Mm,
cannot manage tourism. Most of our hotels are now owned by foreign companies, and they use even foreign inputs, which then makes a lot of the tourist dollars flow back out. They cannot manage agriculture. Every one of our major agricultural industries have failed or been passed into the hands of foreigners. They cannot
yeah.
manage a railway system. The railway system is down and non-functional. They could not manage and keep Air Jamaica. That is gone. They could not manage a public transportation system, JOS. That is gone. So they couldn't manage crime. In fact, we were having about 66 murders a year in the 1960s. Today it's between 1,005 and 2,000. They have fallen. They were on par with Singapore in 1965 when Singapore got independence. Singapore is now 100 times us in terms of productivity, GDP, everything else. So the bottom line is this: we have seen now for 80 years that they lack the competencies or the will, and we
Mm,
lack the framework, the governance model. We don't have a proper governance model, one that will prevent a prime minister from messing with us at election times, and messing with by-elections, messing with the heads of the Jamaican people, where they can pass laws to give themselves massive salary increases. And even though the
yes.
people says, no, 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 they still get away with it and just move on. You have an opposition party that has been in government for 18 and a half years and telling us today that we must elect them again, even though they have failed miserably for 8.5 years. The only party in Jamaica's history to have ever had 18 and a half straight years in office, and they failed so miserably that they were wiped out by the other party. And we've been playing this seesaw ever since. The JLP is the only party that ever had the House of Parliament completely to themselves in the after the 1983 election. They
Yeah.
had 100% of the MPs, 100% of the Senate seats, and they were still unable. What did they do instead? They borrowed over $2 trillion, which we, the people of Jamaica, have been sacrificed to pass, to pay back. We don't pay it back yet, but a lot of it. And then they tell us we have passed this IMF test, and Peter Phillips is proud of passing IMF tests. And Nigel Clark follow right behind him, proud of meeting IMF conditionalities. And at the end of the day, the lives of the Jamaican people are being ripped from them to the point where now we're becoming tenants in our own country. You
Yeah.
go to any major cities in Jamaica, any major community where business is bustling, all of those buildings that are going up are owned by foreign interests. Housing, the average Jamaican cannot afford housing. The average Jamaican cannot buy a house unless it's a matches box NHT house, which is still beyond their means. So you asked me the question, Selburn, what is the uniting factor? Good governance. And hear what? The UIC is the only party in Jamaica that has put forward a comprehensive plan, a very clear manifesto that addresses all of the core issues, a very
Yeah.
clear constitutional framework that would give us the best governance model the world has ever seen. We've developed a world-class governance model, fixing the issue of the executive, fixing the issue of the legislature, fixing the issue of an elected Senate, fixing the issue of subject matter expert as Minister of Government, fixing the issue of 100% publicly funded campaign financing to eliminate the PSOJ control over our government. We have addressed all the issues. And guess what? all the other fringe parties simply spend time regurgitating my talking points, the UIC talking points, in any which way they can. They can't even explain it properly because they don't fully understand it and they lack the competence to implement it, but they don't want to unite because of ego, because of power struggles, because of the ingrained divided consciousness that has been placed into us by our colonial masters and their colonial agents who have taught us to hate each other, to be like crabs in a barrel, to pull each other down, as opposed to coming to the table. When the UIC was created, the name was specifically chosen United Independence Congress, because we wanted to unite independent thinkers, not as a party, but as a Congress, because we want to move Jamaica away from partisan politics to a more consensus building kind of Congress that will allow us to attract and utilize the best and brightest Jamaicans from around the world, not just here in Jamaica, because we have suffered tremendous brain drain. We cannot afford to build a Jamaica based on just us who live here. We need to harness all 4 million Jamaicans abroad and all 3 million Jamaicans a yard to make Jamaica the safest, the cleanest, and the most prosperous country in the world. If Singapore could do it with one 15-hour size, they're now richer than America in GDP per capita. The average Singaporean earns more than the average American. The average Singaporean earns more than their colonizers. You guys in Britain, you're now sub Singapore. You guys are living substandard in the UK to Singapore. If they could do it with one 15-hour size and with far more problems than we can do it with a country 15 times their size and with bright Jamaicans living around the world.
There's a question which is asked by Mr. Carlton Lovelace, and he's saying, Mr. Patterson, all I see you guys doing is just talking. What are you going to do about it? Why not taking part in the upcoming by-election? I put that also to Uche. Are you going to take part in the election in Otrus, Northeast Center?
Who is that for? Me or?
That's for you. No, I spoke to Uche before that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the UIC. Well, let's go back first of all to Carlton's question. He says, Mr. Patterson, all I see you guys doing is just talking. Well, politics is about talk, first of all. You have to communicate. And if all you see us doing is talking, then you obviously haven't been following, because the UIC has created a political party. You think it's easy to create a political party? If it was easy, the previous 66 that were formed before now would have still been here today. All of them has failed. So creating and building a political party is a very, very difficult task, massive task. So we have done more than talk, much more than talk. And I would encourage you, Mr. Carlton, and everybody who's watching to get involved. Go to uicjamaica.com and show that you are more than talk, and join the movement, donate, and volunteer to be a part of a process to move your country forward. Will we participate in the Northeast St. Ann by-election? We will, if we find a candidate who is able. Right now we have at least one application for that seat, and we're completing the vetting process. If it's completed before the nomination date of September 11th, then that person will be the UIC's candidate. And we're only doing it because we agree with the position of the opposition, even though we know they're playing game. We agree that this is a very, very waste of time and waste of money election, because we're going to have a general soon, and we disagree with the government playing games by not having one for South Trelawney, which has been vacant now for a year. So we agree with those things, and we stand by them. However, if we have a person who wants to sit on the ballot, who wants to stand, and they meet the qualification requirements for the UIC, and we do have one candidate right now who is going through that process, if they meet the requirements by tomorrow, then that person would be announced as the UIC's candidate for that seat.
Okay, because that's a crucial seat. Can I just double check here something? Your website is uicjamaica.com?
uicjamaica.com, that's correct, yes.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to join in with uicjamaica.com, there's the details there for you to sign up. Uche, it is very clear, because what we spoke and we said, I need to really link it and talk to the different parties there to sort of see how there can be some brokering And I believe it's an opportune time. And you're leading up to a general election. There need to be some sort of coming together for a general election to somewhat thwart, getting 5, 6, or 7 seats or 8 seats in parliament can dent certain things. Why not show your weight regarding and link up with Mr. Patterson?
I mean, we can have
A
we can have
conversation.
yeah, we can have conversation around that. We can have conversation because at the end of the day, I believe that the dreams and aspiration of the UIC is the dream of and aspiration of many in Jamaica today, right? And also in the diaspora. So we can have conversations around that, right? But again, I am I am I am new. I am learning as the day goes by, right?
Mm,
But I'm very ambitious and I'm passionate about the changes that is long overdue for this country, and I'm
mm,
willing to do whatever it needs, whatever it takes to make this country a safe place for us and for the
mm.
generation to come. You understand? So I mean, it's simple one too, but again, whatever is dividing us will have to be addressed very importantly.
I created this terminology which is called the black element, and the black element is like Marcus Garvey and I think somebody was singing this song, "Rally around the flag, rally around the red, gold, black, and green." You know that song, right? And the black element is trying to find that common ground. So therefore, you you cut away all this sort of structure of leadership and everything. 'Cause everybody, as one time Delana Franklin, the late Delana Franklin said, "Boy, it's hard to run Jamaica with the diaspora because everybody think them a leader." Everybody. So there's so many chiefs, unless Indians, if anything like that. And I believe it is so very important at this time in our life with Jamaica for us to move. Because, Joseph, if I take this one another angle, when I look at crime, for argument's sake, I come to the conclusion now that just like how the Vision 2030, which I say is not going to happen, um, it was a common um, theme. Crime should be a common theme in the sense of plan, whereby the JLP, the PNP, and I say the UIC, the civil society, all should be on the same level, similar to, and I put that on the same level as education. There should be this similar ground that if PNP win or JLP win or UIC win, we're all singing from that same hymnal.
Sure, but that hymnal, Selburn, would mean
Yeah.
that we have to acknowledge that the two colonial parties running Jamaica are criminal gangs. And and this is, if we can't come to that reality, then there's no common ground.
Yeah.
There's no way on God's creation that I would ever mislead the Jamaican people into believing that these two colonial parties can be trusted to address crime. I'll give you one example. Right now, if you go downtown to central Kingston, right now, if you go and interview the people on the ground right now, you will know and hear that the two parties are actively engaged in criminal activities on the ground right there now.
Mm.
Guns don't come into Jamaica just so. The little boy them who get the guns, they're not capable of allowing those illegal guns into Jamaica. You
Mm.
need people at the top. You need people at the political top, people at the money top to facilitate those major transshipments in and out of Jamaica. You know why Bruce Golden had to resign. He's
Mm.
one of the few politicians that have been caught fully in the web and exposed for their connection with the underworld in Jamaica. But we turn a blind eye to the fact that that extends to the entirety of the two parties. None of these two parties can win an election in Jamaica without engaging in crime. They all engage in crime to win each election. And it's time we come to that. We, the people, have to just step back and say, we will not allow two known gangs to continue to run our government. So the consensus needs to be among us, not them. I
Mm.
cannot have a consensus with those two parties around crime because it means they would have to confess. And that's why the UIC called for a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where if they're willing, if all of the players are willing to come forward and we say, listen, we're going to have an amnesty program in place here. So if you tell the truth and lead us to the bodies, if you will, you're going to be excused from paying the full price of the action. But we have to have a truth. And so we cannot, Selburn, talk about having a common cause around crime and include criminal in the process, unless the criminal decide that they're going to come through and tell it. And by the way, both parties may have a valid reason for why they engaged in crime. If you go back to the Cold War of the 1970s and 80s, right? Remember, both sides were being armed by different international groups, right? So the socialist group was being armed by socialist element, and the group that pretended to be a capitalist group was being armed by other elements. And the Jamaican people were the casualties. We were, as always, we're always sacrificed for somebody else's objective. And these two parties have done that. So what would be good now is if the other Jamaicans, the rest of us who believe differently, and can come together and say, we want to end this epidemic of crime. We want to end this epidemic of corruption. We want to end this epidemic of failures in our schools. We want to end this epidemic of a lousy and risky healthcare system. We want to end this epidemic of can't managing our own facilities and roads and businesses. And so to do that now, our common cause will be good governance. And if our common cause is good governance, there's a twin element too, a second element, which is very dear to the UIC. You might not even appreciate it immediately, but a common cause is liberty, protecting our freedom of speech, which this prime minister and this government and the one after him will be pressured by powers that be to deny us the freedom to speak. They're busy trying to get legislation in order to take away freedom of speech. They also want to take away freedom of choice, as they did under the previous pandemic situation, and they will do it again. They're working, in fact, right now, under the radar. They're busy forcing all military personnel to take a particular substance into their bodies, or they will not be allowed to be promoted. It's happening now. Wow. They're doing it in our schools. Right now in our schools, they're still pressuring our children and parents. And most of our parents, them not have no time to pay attention. Yeah, man, do this something and just sign off. So little by little, they're injecting off all of our people. At some point, you will see, it's happening already. You'll see our population start dwindling more and more and more and more. You'll see our fertility rates start to drop more and more and more. So while we are dilly-dallying and playing games about unity and about what we're going to, these things are happening. The existential threat is happening right now. They're decimating Jamaica. So here what? Two things. Let's rally around good governance, and let's rally around protecting our rights as individuals.
That's very serious. What you're talking about, Mr. Patterson. The question is, what next? You mentioned about that you're going to plan to get someone nominated, all being well, if it all works out, for Northeast Sentan, and to give the people an opportunity. Someone just said right here a while ago that I don't agree with I don't agree with the opposition if they're saying time come and by election they should be taking part. At least you're taking part in the by-election.
No. Yeah, I disagree. I think the position taken by the opposing party is a very valid one, and I'm not a person to play the games. There's no point. In fact, we should all be very upset that we have a prime minister who's going to come and orchestrate a resignation and the next day call a by-election while you have another seat. What the people of Northeast Sentan are more important than the people of South Trelawney? They deserve in Northeast Sentan that one day after resignation, you must have a by-election. But the people of South Trelawney, 1 year after a resignation on the very serious criminal charges, 1 year, you still can't have a by-election there. But we must trust you and we must respect you as Prime Minister. I have no respect for Andrew Holness, and nobody on the planet should have respect for him. He's despicable. What he has done is rude, out of order, and undemocratic, and he should be fired immediately by the people of Jamaica for doing this.
And do you think what was happening in Northeast Senton with Marsha Smith there and Mr. Samuda being there as a de facto. Do you think that was really? I think it was really disrespectful what was happening there at the same time.
Well, their internal issues is for them problem. I don't
Yeah,
care about the JLP's internal issues. What I care about is the people's issues. And here's the people's
yeah,
issue.
but the people weren't being were dealt with shoddy in
No, but
Santa. That's
hold
what I'm
on.
talking about. Yeah,
Their internal politics is this. He
yeah.
was made the chairman of the constituency. The chairman is usually the person who is going to then run as the MP. Normally, that's their internal stuff.
Okay.
The UIC, for example, we have a different policy. Our policy is the people select their representatives. So anybody in Northeast St. Anne could raise their hand today and say, I would like to represent Northeast St. Anne. I would not have a say in it. What would happen is they would have to meet the criteria that is set out by the constitution of the UIC. And if they meet it and they have the support of the people, they're elected. But that aside, their internal matter only matters to us if it becomes a legal matter, a criminal matter. Outside of that, she resigned today, and the Prime Minister called a by-election tomorrow. That is a gross disrespect to the people of South Trelawney. And the other constituencies, there are 2 municipal seats that are now vacant because of deaths. And the Prime Minister has failed to call. And he comes on public television and talk to us like we're his little children. Like we're his little vassals, like we're his little pawns. Like he can just come and say whatever. He's rude. And he's disrespectful. I'm hoping, and what should happen if the people of Jamaica were able to think beyond the pork barrel politics that we have, they would not cast a single vote in that upcoming election for the JLP, a single vote. The people should all stay home and boycott this. And if there's a candidate on the ballot now from any other party, whoever it is, if that candidate has a sound manifesto and agenda that speaks to the issue of the people of Southeast St. Andrew and is willing to stand for them as opposed to standing for a party and for the PSOJ oligarchs, if he's willing, he or she, willing to stand for the people, because Selburne, in Jamaica, no MP stand for the people of their constituency. Every MP stand for their party and those who fund their party.
That's what I think.
Hold on. Watch me on this. Follow me carefully. When an MP is elected and they go to Parliament, they never come back and ask their constituents, where you want me for vote for?
Yeah.
No MP stood up and said, my constituents say we're against the increase in your pay, and so I'm going to stand up in Parliament and call for a bill to oppose this pay, and we're going to vote against it. No MP did that. That's elected from these 2 parties. When we had the COVID issue, no MP stood up in Parliament and said, I'm going to bring a charge to this Parliament against this government for these violations of the rights. Nobody represented the people of Jamaica. Only the UIC represent the people of Jamaica. We were the only one willing to cause the common cause and bring together.
You went to jail for that. You went to jail for that,
yes.
Didn't it?
But more than that, we brought Rasta together, Christians together, atheists together, civil society. And they were all playing the same game they're playing now. Everybody having their own pet peeves and egos. And I said, listen, guys, if you allow them to do this, your liberty, your freedom is gone. You can't practice Rastaism free no more. You can't practice this. So let us rally around your freedom. Secure your freedom. And you can go back and talk about you're a Mormon or you're a Christian or you're this or that. No matter. When your freedom is at stake, you put everything aside and fight. The same thing is happening now. Jamaica's freedom. And people think if you vote out Andrew, all you're going to get is a different version of what is happening today. Both parties are on the same page. They say different things when they're in opposition. Andrew made 1 million promises in opposition, which he has not fulfilled in government. And the PNP has done the same thing. So don't think that by voting for one side or the other, you're going to get real change. You'll never get real change until we really change.
So what you're saying is that you vote out the government, you still get your government in. You vote the government out,
you vote out criminals, you still get criminals in. So you have to vote. And by the way, voting is not enough, Selburne. Sorry to cut you, but voting is not enough. If you are waiting to just vote, you lose already. Because guess what?
Every 5 years.
The people will only vote for those they see. Meaning, who do they see? Every election on radio, television, and internet, who has the most money to flood those channels? Who has the most money to have bus go through the community? Who has enough money to call meetings everywhere and give out food and drinks? The UIC will not have that money if we don't give it.
Yeah.
But the PSOJ will give those two parties. They will have the buses. They will have the T-shirts. They will have the cap. They will have all the media, radio, television, internet. They will have all of it. And so the people will always vote for what them see. And if they can't see it, all of us, all these third parties, we're all wasting our time. If
I need to get something on my show. I need to get something in on the show which I am doing. There's this point which you said, and I don't want it to drop. But I think it would be so brilliant, and we would be the Mecca of the Caribbean if at the Northeast Central election that people come out and say them now vote for the JLP representative, and they'll vote for an independent person and rock the boat. But the question is
But it's not going to happen.
Yeah, this is the question. This is the question.
Yes.
Why are the people so dormant and just take everything where them get?
Silver, I have been trying to tell Uno. I don't understand. Silver, listen. Come to my constituency, Northeast St. Elizabeth, okay? And here's what you're going to see. You're going to see a large number of poor persons, them hungry, them can't find money to send their kids to school. They can't pay the medical bills. The roof, a drop off. The floor, a drop out. The windows are falling apart. And they can't, so their lives, they're not listening to anything that you and I are talking about. Okay.
Oh, and school bags, back to school.
Yeah, man, school back. Yeah. What they're listening to right now is cartel and other stuff, and they use cartel and just to survive. Don't think them bad. Them not bad. They're just trying to cope. They're trying to live day to day. So when they hear the bell, and when they hear the song, My Leader Barnia, and the little joyful feeling that come at election time, it's like the Pied Piper. And they're going to just hear the sound, and they'll just line up. Their minds have been programmed. They'll just line up, and they'll get their T-shirt, and they'll get their 5,000 or 10,000 now, and they'll get their caps, and they will get little excitement. They'll get little attention, because this is the only way they get attention, when it's election time. And the leader go down there and shake hands, and he's going to sit down on the stool and the yard, and they're going to be available. And so the people will do what they have always done, what they have been trained to do. No, not the middle class. The most of the middle class will go to them work and go about them business. That's someone better than me. And then go and watch the results. Who win? And if the dub plates come out, they'll pay attention. Oh, the dub plate, the wicked. That one, and they'll enjoy the comic of it all. Yeah. Because the middle class know that whether you elect green or orange, the outcome is the same. The small man also know this now, but him navel string cutting it. The beat of the song, the rhythm, and if him come from the green side, when him hear the green song, if him come from when him hear the orange song, so Selburne, they will go out and vote. The problem is, let's say we know the third parties were organized and serious, very serious. Then no, we wouldn't have to lie on each other and cause our donations to be disrupted. We would have worked together and would have built a large enough donation base that we know could buy radio ads and television ads, and we know could send people into the community and give them a different perspective and a different vibes. And today, we'll be able to move the needle in Northeast St. Elizabeth, in St. Anne. Guess what? You can't move it now in a few days. Nomination day is 11th and election day is the 30th. You can't move it now. If you want to move the needle the next time, we have to fix the problem now. We have to get together now and get serious and marginalize those who are tricking us, marginalize those who are here to deceive us, and focus on those with sense, with competencies, and with commitment, Anybody can look at Joseph Patterson and the UIC and say that we're dead serious, dead committed, and we have the competencies. So you're wasting time if you're fluttering around with people who don't have the competence, don't have the commitment, and are simply there to tear down and destroy for whatever reason. I don't know. But you can't afford to run with them. Come home to the real United Independence Congress and let us focus on doing the real work of winning back Jamaica. It won't happen, Selborne, in uniting a few days or a few weeks before election. We have to unite years before and work our way into it.
Yeah. Will you denounce your citizenship? Somebody
No, I
asks.
won't. No, not at all.
So the question Mr. Lovelace, ask Mr. Patterson if it's true that he swear allegiance. Well, okay, I guess he meant allegiance to next country, and if it's true, if he denounced it before he runs.
So let me be very, very clear. Let me be very, very clear, because I don't waste time on these foolishness, right? Listen, I am a Canadian citizen.
Yes.
I, like many Jamaicans, were economic refugees in Canada or the US or England. Jamaica could not provide me the kind of accomplishments that Canada has provided me. Bad governance robbed me and 4 million other Jamaicans of being the best we could be in our own country. Now, I will not, read my lips, I will not be denouncing my citizenship until we transform Jamaica's constitution into what it should be. So I will not be I want my Canadian passport to be able to fly all over the world without any problems. I can't do that on a Jamaican passport.
I want to say it again. I want to say it again. Say it again. I'll put you on blast.
No, I will not be denouncing any dual citizenship until Jamaica, under my leadership or the UIC's leadership or real leadership, convert from a colonial constitution to a true republic. That's when I will denounce. When Jamaica denounces its dual, I will denounce my dual. Okay? Until then, I'm going to enjoy the benefits of being able to travel to almost any country in the world because of my Canadian passport. I will enjoy the benefits of being able to do business. I go to Singapore to do business. I go to Ghana to do business. I go to Canada, the US. I can work freely because of my Canadian citizenship. I could not do that on my Jamaican. That's a travesty. That is wrong. And what I want all Jamaicans to have it. I want, when we fix Jamaica, your Jamaican passport will take it to 190 to 200 countries.
I think it was wrong for Mr. Golden, Mr. Julian Robinson, and even Mr. Samuda to renounce their British citizenship.
Because of games. They love to play games.
It's a game, and the thing about it is that you shouldn't see politics again at the same time as like a golden age when we're going to be there for the next 20 to 50 years. After 4 years, these guys might go on and say, oh, sugar, man, I need to go to the UK and all those sort of things and to do their business. Yeah. You know, like Nigel Clark.
And look at Nigel Clark. Nigel Clark didn't need a dual citizenship to run with.
Exactly.
So he told
the money didn't keep him as well.
Exactly. Nigel Clark told the teachers and he told the nurses to be patriotic and suck salt through a wooden spoon. Favour Williams, they must invest in the stock market and whatever, and grin and bear it in Jamaica. And as soon as the opportunity come for him to work full-time for the colonial master, he was working part-time for them before, as Minister of Finance. None get work for them full-time in Runway. And they never have the US citizenship or the Canadian or British. So don't tell me about denouncing. I will not denounce my Canadian citizenship. I love it and I appreciate it.
There's another minister who was seeking to be Secretary of the Commonwealth as well. Everybody was a friend of mine.
Exactly.
A friend of mine said to me, "Okay, they work in the Ministry of Finance," and they said, "Are you trying to tell me that Nigel when I seek job while him there working?"
while him telling them to hunker down and focus on
Uche, we're gonna go now. Uche, what's your last word? I know you enjoyed yourself. What's your last word? Even though we're laughing, but I hope people really,
a serious business.
Guys, for the record, I don't get into these other discussions and blogging and woman business and cartel business. I just deal with serious, deep issues, So so you're not gonna see me with the following like that, but I try to get with some meat, some serious meat in the whole thing. Absolutely. Uche, your last word, Uche, sir.
Yes, so regarding the upcoming by-elections, I just want to appeal to the constituents in that area, northeastern St.
St. Anne.
Anne's. Um, yeah, be very careful, and be very, don't take the disrespect. Be very careful, right? Because your action on that day will determine your political future. So be very, very conscious of what is happening, why is it being done, and the timing. You understand? And the persons who are endorsing this as well. So be very, very vigilant. And I personally, if I was living there, as Mr. Patterson said, I wouldn't go out to vote for worse the Jamaica Labour Party. I wouldn't, right? Because again, what Andrew did is a gross disrespect, right? It's a gross disrespect to the people of this country, not just in that area or in the other areas, but the whole of Jamaica was disrespected by this. You understand? And secondly, and finally, I'm also hoping that the independent voices, let us see what will happen. Let us see what will happen. But we need to. I will reach out to Mr. Patterson because I'm the kind of person that I don't like strife and division and all that. I try my very best to bring things together if the parties are willing to make amends, right? But I will see how best we can form a coalition between all these movements, these third
Yes.
parties as they call them, right? To champion the cause of the people, real, real good. You understand? But that's pretty much it, right? So yeah.
Thank you very much. And Sir Patterson, your last word. Um,
Sure. Let me just say thank you very much, Selburn,
mm,
for having me on the program tonight, and
yes,
to Mr. Hutchinson for being here as well. I think we had a very good dialogue. The most important thing is for us to unite around the common cause of good governance and liberty. Jamaica is facing an existential threat, both from without and within. Inside of Jamaica, we're facing the threat of bad governance destroying us on our own without the help of anybody else.
yes,
And externally, we see where Jamaica is being led to violate the rights of Jamaicans by even suppressing free speech. We see where our leaders are even taking marching orders to bring even cultural, social issues to the Jamaican people that we're not even talking about. We have no problem with gender. We know who's a male and who's a female. We don't need nobody to come play with our minds about that. And we
yes,
have always been a people who stand very firmly on family values. We
mm,
might not have been very good at it in terms of having enough males in the homes, but the help we need is to get our families working, not to destroy our families.
mm,
We can see clearly that this prime minister and this government, like the ones before him, are committed to undermining Jamaicans. He did it before when he tried to get senators to sign undated resignation letters. He did it before when he tried to make the Chief Justice a temp so he can manipulate him. And he's doing it again by now manipulating our election laws, by having one set of people having a by-election one day, being called one day after an orchestrated resignation, and the people of South Trelawney being denied for 1 year so far in not having a by-election. We know that he will seek to manipulate the system at every turn. He did it with NIDS when the court struck him down with NIDS and said you cannot force the Jamaican people to buy into NIDS. He simply went around it by having the banks and the employers and the giving out of government benefits being tied to NIDS. He's pushing the CBDC, central bank digital currency. He and Mr. Clark and others orchestrated the Bank of Jamaica being given to the private banking global cartel as opposed to being the Bank of Jamaica for the people of Jamaica. So we know we can't trust him. But it's not just him. He's just the face of a diabolical system. No matter who they put at the face, whether it is a beautiful Lisa Anna on the orange side or mistaken health minister Tufton on the green side, it doesn't matter who they put up front. The fact of
yes,
the matter is they have proven to us after 80 years of running this country that there's only one way to run this country. It's down. Crime is at an all-time high. The economy continues to teeter on bankruptcy because they've lied to us in the last budget, and the gaps will become glaringly clear. And that's why Nigel jumped ship. They have also messed up our education system.
Yeah.
The prime minister was education minister for 4 years, and he has now been prime minister for 8 years. So after 12 years of his influence, 82% of our students failed to pass 5 subjects, including math and English. They're creating a fully dunce population to keep Jamaica under their jurisdiction, and they're being helped by the PSOJ oligarchs who know that they're bankrupt, who know that they're corrupt. They continue to fund them year after year and election after election. I'm inviting all Jamaicans, home and abroad, go to uicjamaica.com,
Yeah.
become a member, volunteer, and donate so that we can take back our country and make Jamaica a safe, clean, and orderly, free society where all of us can live, earn, and retire with dignity.
I want to thank you so much, Mr. Patterson, for coming on. And every time that I bring you on, I always get a couple of messages come to me as to what am I doing. But I tend to be an independent thinker, Silburn Sidiel, and nobody can rock my boat, And I always like to say to people that I like to cut through the maze and go to the issues. I know follow back on a body, I'm trying to say. If I speak one day, and it sounds like I'm more speaking against the PNP, they say I'm JLP. If I speak the other day and it sounds like I'm speaking more for the PNP, well, they say I'm JLP, whatever. It juxtaposed. And I just fail to understand how people see these things and can't see beyond it. Our minds are being brainwashed. And when you say what you said and what Uche said, what you said, I go back to this question and say, how can the people allow this to happen? Of course, you said it as the reasons why. But the people of Jamaica got to understand that there's so many distractions and so many things that is trying to get their minds, separated or whatever like that. While I would say the thumb or the knee is on the neck of the people. And that is why they can't move forward and so like that. So keep educating, brethren. And of course, I'm there as well to be a part of the process with yourself, Uche, and Mr. Patterson. And I hope somehow, and I want to be a part of the whole process and see if we can pull alternative voices, serious voices, together for the betterment of Jamaica, so the people can win. So the people can win. We want the people to win, not the political parties to win.
It's about
All
time.
right?
Thank you very much. All
Peace
the best.
out.
Gentlemen.
Thank you
Take
very much.
care.
Thank you, Uche. Thank you, guys. All the
Bye-bye.
best. All the best. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining today. And I much appreciated, and thank you for those who joined me on Instagram and those on Facebook as well and YouTube. I think this conversation was very important. The topic, as you see, it was, do the people win in an election? And the last thing that I wanted to say is, why do the people feel that they do not win in an election? And I'll just read this point here. People may feel that they do not win in an election for several reasons. One, lack of representation. Voters may feel that the candidates or parties do not truly represent their values or interests, leaving them with no satisfying option. This is common in systems with limited choices or where only major parties dominate, like what we have here. Broken promises. After elections, politicians sometimes fail to deliver on campaign promises. We see that even right here in the UK of recent days. This can lead to disillusionment as people feel that their vote did not lead to meaningful change. Yep. And influence of money. Many feel that elections are dominated by wealthy individuals, corporations, or special interest group, which can overshadow the voice of the average voter. And that is something which resonates a lot, where people somewhat feel, somewhat disenchanted, not part of the whole process. And if I go further, voter suppression. In some places, barriers to voting, such as long lines, strict ID laws, or gerrymandering, make people feel excluded from the process. Polarization. Highly polarized political environments can leave voters feeling that no matter who wins, the country remains divided and progress is stunted. Disillusionment with the system. If people believe that the system is rigged, corrupt, or inefficient, they may feel that their vote doesn't matter even if they participate. These factors combined can create a sense of alienation, leading people to feel that they don't win in elections even when their candidate is elected. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining. My name is Silburn Sidiel. Remember to like and subscribe to the Silburn Show. Remember to share this video. Those on TikTok, remember to like and share and follow. And those on YouTube as well, and especially on Instagram. So have a good night. God bless you, and peace out. Bye-bye.